Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas. Normally I say severely sleep deprived, but I slept very well yesterday, but I am overly caffeinated as always. And today I have with me Daniel. Blah, 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 blah. Of course, I have my notes from the last one. Today I have with me Graham Topol and Michael Topol. And by the way, is it Topol or Topol? How's it pronounced?
Topol, you got it right.
Perfect. So Graham and Michael Topol, who are co-founders and co-CEOs of MGT Insurance, and given the names and the general likely likeness between the two of them, I took the guess that they are brothers, and I was correct. It was either dad or one of them is a very young looking father. But yes, they are actually brothers. So first of all, Graham and Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. How's it going?
It's going really well. Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here. We're avid listeners. We really enjoy your podcast.
Fantastic. Thank you. We're recording on July 1st, and a couple of milestones. We celebrated our 700th episode, came out last Wednesday. And there's another, I don't know, 20 or 25 that have already been recorded. Yeah, so that was kind of awesome. The mother organization to Profiles in Risk, which is Insurance Nerds, which is more of a blog, celebrated 10 years last year at ITC. We had a cake and everything. And yeah, it's been an incredible adventure, basically. July 1st, I am closing conference season. Only one more conference to go next week. In your side of the world, actually, I'll be at IBA Future Fest in Santa Monica.
Nice.
So you guys are both California based, right? No, hold on. Yes, you guys are both California based. Is that
Uh,
correct?
I, I'm San Francisco based. Michael's in New York most of the time these days.
Oh, okay. So it says Palo Alto. Okay, perfect. So San Francisco based, New York based, fantastic. So last week we had this giant heat wave, right, on most of the country. Uh, and I spent most of the week here at home in Atlanta, where it was incredibly hot, but where I could hide. And then I did a 1 day back and forth to New York, and it was on Wednesday, and it was unlivable. The worst like heat ever. And of course, I'm running around, I can't really hide anywhere. Um, and then to escape from the heat, I spent the weekend in Las Vegas, which was 109 degrees. But at least that's normal seasonal summer for Las Vegas, and it's dry heat. Uh, so, Michael, how did you survive last week in New York, if you were in New York?
I was actually I spend about half my time in Denver, half my time in New York. But the heat has been the humidity is what kills you. You know, in Las Vegas it could be 109, but if you're out of the sun, it's a little
Yeah,
drier.
uh,
The humidity is oppressive, or it
I
can be
I
in the summer.
I rented a my dream car. I've been talking about it for 15 years. Finally did it. I rented a convertible Porsche, and it happened to be red by sheer luck. So a bunch of pictures are coming. And in the evening, once the sun went down, it was 108, and it was perfectly fine. Like it's the weirdest. I had never done Vegas in the summer. So Graham, now San Francisco, beautiful weather all year round. From my perspective, was it a little warm last week, or
65, it's sunny. You know, you could wear pants and a sweater
chef's
and
kiss?
not be cold or not be
Chef's
hot.
kiss. Yes,
Yeah.
I love the Bay. All right, so we always give the guest a chance to give the elevator pitch. What is MGT Insurance?
Yeah. So MGT is a Neo Insurer, which means we're a modern commercial insurance carrier that we built from the ground up to serve small businesses and the agents who support them. I think when we think about why we're doing what we do, you look at the small commercial segment, and there, I know a lot of folks on your podcast talk about the small commercial segment. There's no question that the experience, a lot of people call it broken. I'm not going to use that word actually because the risk transfer, risk pooling, the things that we actually enable entrepreneurs in this country to do by providing them what I would call an essential economic good, I think is actually pretty meaningful. But I will say that the process itself, the experience is pretty outdated. Slow quotes, complex policies, endless back and forth. People struggle to make it profitable from the carrier side, and small business owners don't really like the experience. The brokers and agents who serve them don't want to waste time and navigate it. So we decided to build a better experience from the ground up. And we started with a very simple premise. If you combine strong underwriting discipline with modern technology and real automation, and I'm going to say the word, but I'm going to try and not say it too much, but real AI, actually, AI, native technology, um, I think you could build a carrier that's fast, efficient, and profitable at scale, right? That provides a better experience for our agents and our insureds. That's what we're doing at MGT.
All right. All right. All right. So Neo Insurer is definitely a cool phrase. Very, very cool phrase. And of course, I am a millennial. I'm 42. Matrix came out when I was in late high school, and I went to see it without any expectations. I hadn't even seen the trailer, and it changed my life basically. My slight exaggeration, but one of my favorite movies ever. Then number two came out when I was in college, and I went to see the premiere and was slightly disappointed. Number, I don't know, four, five, six, whatever the last one is, I saw on a Delta plane, and it's halfway okay. But number one, it's amazing. So when you use the word Neo, of course, I start dodging bullets, right?
Yeah,
Where's my trench coat? Uh, but okay, so Neo just means new, right?
that's right.
Lately, where I see the word most is the one of the airplanes, 321, the Airbus 321
Yeah.
Neo. All right. So a Neo Insurer, modern commercial insurance carrier built to sell small commercials. The first thing that catches my eye, I've interviewed literally hundreds of insurtech founders, and at the very beginning, there were attempts to build carriers. Then just about everybody went either SaaS platform or MGA or tech enabled MGA. Very, very few carriers, right? There's Hippo, there's Root, there's Lemonade, there is Branch, and maybe Next, who just got acquired. And so anyway, there's a reason for that. Building a carrier is extremely expensive and extremely difficult. So why go the carrier route instead of going the MGA route like a lot of the other insurtechs?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm trying to balance here how far back in the story to go,
As far as you want.
and also like why we actually want to do it. So I'll take you down memory lane, Tony. I'll rewind a little bit. So um, I'll give you a little bit of both our backstories. So I started my career in investment banking, covering financial institutions. I was doing transactions for the bank I was working at. I got a chance to work with the chief operating officer on his staff, and one of my mandates was trying to solve operational issues using technology. And the bank I was working at is a 65,000 person organization. Needless to say, there were many opportunities to solve these kinds of problems. I actually kind of fell in love with that concept that you could use technology to enable financial services to be better and more efficient, provide better service. So I ended up leaving and going to a growth equity fund that specialized in financial services technology. And that for me was a fascinating time in my life, learning a lot about a lot of things. But one of them was I started to understand how to pick apart business models. And one of my verticals that I covered, unsurprisingly, was InsurTech. And this was the first wave of InsurTech founders, right? This was InsurTech 1.0. And I'm sure lots of people come on and talk about how they're different than InsurTech 1.0. But there were a couple business models that came out in InsurTech 1.0, and I learned a lot. The first was selling SaaS into incumbent insurers, which that time were mostly carriers. The MGA concept was a whole different business model I'll talk about in a sec. It was very, very difficult. You had, to begin with, their systems are siloed. They're built in COBOL. They're on mainframe. It's very, very difficult to actually get someone to say, yes, I'll take the risk of adopting the SaaS product, and it may or may not work for my name your number $1 billion business as an insurance carrier, as the CEO of an insurance carrier. So a lot of those folks had small POCs for individual product lines or divisions that went for a year or 2 years, felt like they got traction, but then ultimately got shut down because they didn't have enough data, they weren't given enough access, they weren't actually able to control how things migrated. I was pretty wary of that, though I do think that there are wonderful, wonderful SaaS solutions in the insurance world. I don't want to make it seem that wasn't for me. I didn't have the stomach to like go and try and sell. And Michael has his own experience, which I'll let him talk about in a sec, that also informed that. Um, the other business model that was super prevalent at this period in my life was the tech-enabled MGA. And the first wave, and I'm not going to name any specific ones because I have lots of friends at all these places, but the first wave was really focused on commoditized personal lines. They were backed in a environment of near or zero interest rate environment, and they kind of went to like, what would I call it? The churn and burn rate. Like, let's see how fast we can grow. They were less focused, at least in my opinion, on quality underwriting and loss ratios because they assumed it was kind of an average market, and they could outgrow that. Now, in my opinion, part of the problem with that is if you're not focused on your underwriting, and your economics as an MGA are a little bit thinner, it gets very, very difficult to kind of earn through that, right?
I'm gonna pause you right there for a second.
Yeah.
As an insurance nerd, and any knowledgeable insurance people who's either a nerd or has been around for a while will tell you that in insurance, as a risk carrying entity or one that can burn out reinsurers, as a risk carrying entity, you can't grow your way into profitability. You have to profit your way into growth.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And I thought that that first wave of insurtechs wanted to grow their way into profitability with a lot of VC dollars. Some of them did it, by the way. A lot of the ones you name, though, actually are those survivors, and they converted to a carrier because ultimately there are a lot more economics in the carrier. Yes, you have to cover losses, but that also means you have to be good at the thing you're supposed to be doing, which is evaluating pricing and pooling risk. And so that was kind of my experience. And then I went to when I went to business school, I worked for a company called Newfront. I'm sure you've had Spike and Gordon and that crew here. That was an amazing experience for me. You should. I'll
They're invited. If you can connect me, I'll have them on, but I haven't had them.
they're really, really wickedly smart people who I have a ton of respect for and have stayed and been advisors to me over the last couple of years, and Michael as well. But what was super interesting about that experience is what I recognized is that the central piece of the value chain to actually transact insurance is licenses, right? You actually need a license to transact insurance. And so even though we had done all these amazing things at Newfront, there were these licensed entities, and many of them that we worked with, again, will remain unnamed, required printed and mailed documents or scan to fax. Like some of them actually had fax numbers that we had to send things to. And that was a really frustrating experience when we felt at Newfront, we were providing this amazing, amazing experience to our customers to then hit this pretty meaningful roadblock. And so I'm going to pause my story because this is right about when Michael and I decided to start MGT. And I'm going to let Michael do a little bit of his background. I promise, I will circle back to the Neo Insurer why carrier question. I haven't lost the thread.
Yeah. And so to pick up from there, as Graham mentioned, I saw quite a bit in the early days of InsurTech. So in InsurTech 1.0, I actually had left my previous job where I'd been working for a little while, working actually with regulated entities, helping them scale, raise capital, et cetera, and went to go work for an InsurTech in the early days of InsurTech 1.0. I was there very early as an early employee, saw them scale pretty dramatically from 20 to 600 plus people. And it was a pretty fascinating experience. And a couple of things that I learned was one, in insurance, as Graham mentioned, there's a huge need and a huge opportunity for technology to improve the way in which the companies function, in which the end customer experiences the product and make it much better. because back then, many of the NPS scores for most insurance companies were not very high. And also to make it a better overall experience. A couple of things I also learned, though, is that in InsurTech 1.0, some of the issues were, these were the early days of AWS and cloud computing being available. Compute costs, storage costs was changing very dramatically. And that meant that at that time, the insurance companies couldn't take advantage of it, but the tech companies could, but they had to go build a lot of the pieces themselves. There wasn't the same ecosystem of tools, processes, even on the engineering side. And so what it meant is you had to have much larger organizations building technology, not just for your customer, but also for yourself to do a lot of it. And so from that, a couple of other experiences I had working with a few other tech companies led us to realize that also working with the retail agents and the insurance brokers and agents was really important. They provide a really vital service to the policyholders on the, in the small commercial space. If you're a small business owner, you have a million things to manage when you're starting your business, growing your business, managing your business. So you go and you rely on your insurance agent to help you with a lot of it. And so part of that was how can we also build technology, as Graham mentioned, and a better system and process to enable those insurance brokers and agents to have a much better experience. So that was a lot of my experience seeing some of the early days of where technology could be utilized, could have a real impact, and some of the changes that were occurring within the industry.
So Tony, I'll pause before I then answer the original question, unless you want me to just jump right through it.
Keep going. I've been taking notes. I don't have any questions. So yeah, keep going.
So let's talk about Neo Insurer, right? And why we decided to build a carrier. So as you said, Neo just means new. What that means to us is that we're a tech native insurance carrier, right? We lead with our technology, and we're built from the ground up for efficiency, for speed, and for scale. And unlike some of the incumbent carriers, we're not weighed down by legacy systems and by unlike our colleagues in the MGA world, we don't rely on third-party paper or infrastructure. So we control the full stack from underwriting and pricing to claims and distribution, and we think that gives us a few advantages, at least for our business model, right? This is what we chose to do. We think we can move faster, whether it's launching new products or improving the user experience. Second, we think we can get cleaner data and better feedback loops, which can improve our pricing and hopefully our profitability over time. And third, which is what we really focus on, is we can deliver a radically better experience to our agent partners and the insureds alike. So that's what we've built. To your point, yeah, it's pretty tough to build a carrier. Like I wouldn't say this is for the weak of heart, but I think that it is something that is needed. I think there are very few new carriers that are built on modern infrastructure that can compete in the modern world. So yeah, I can answer questions about that, but it is hard. It is a different business model.
Has anybody else in the States done it? Because I can think of Branch, which is personal lines, and I don't know if they're a full stack carrier or they're still in the MGA to carrier model. And also I can think of Next, which just got bought. But who in the US is an actual modern from the ground up full stack carrier?
Yeah, well, I can tell you who the last generation was. Kinsale.
Pure? Kinsale. Okay, so yeah, I don't think of them as InsurTech. They're a good like 15 years old now.
Yeah, right. They were like the 2010 version. Palomar, similar vintage, but very successful. Pure, I don't know as well, but they might fall. I mean, they were less focused on, I would say, the technology, but they did some things like those companies all did some really interesting things.
So basically, I am correct that this is basically the first full stack carrier in the new world of InsurTech, in the revolution of the last 10 years.
You said it, not me, but sounds right.
as far as like, I mean, Branch is the closest one, but I don't. I've had them on the podcast. They're very good. I like Steve like us a lot. But yeah, there's definitely not a lot, because it is so hard to do.
Yeah.
Fantastic, and I completely agree that if you can pull it off, it has all the advantages, right? You have better tech, better processes, better everything than the legacy carriers who I love and who I've worked for a long time. But they have immense tech debt. Uh, even if they have the right culture to innovate, which is not always the case, but even if they can get to the right culture to innovate, their tech debt makes it really hard. Um, and on the other hand, you have the flexibility, the control of the entire process that the tech MGA model doesn't allow, because they have carriers on paper in the background, right? That they have to fax stuff to us, as you
Yeah.
correctly pointed out. So yes, it's just a harder way to do it. Why small commercial?
Yeah. So actually, I think we have a passion for this from people ask me why I get out of bed every day and choose to be in insurance, and same with Michael. And when you think about why small commercial, I think this is as much a philosophical uh, decision for us as it is a economic one, and we've kind of distilled it down into three pillars. When we think about the American economy, there are 35 million small businesses in the U.S. They are the laundromat in LA started by Korean immigrants that helped send their kid off to an Ivy League school, right? There is somebody who inherited a grocery store in Cedar Rapids, Iowa from their grandfather, and they want to open a second location. There are these are entrepreneurs that make up a lot of the backbone of the American economy, and insurance allows them to take these risks and build these businesses that
Mm-hmm.
drive our communities forward. And being able to be a trusted partner to protect those assets. And then, part of our job is to step in and pay claims when things go wrong. So, we think about we're protecting communities, we're protecting jobs, we're protecting livelihoods. That's really meaningful. And for us to do that for the small commercial, we just feel like there's a social and economic impact that we are making on the US, right? And that's a really big mission. So that's pillar one.
Small commercial insurance is a pain for the business, right? Uh, you open a bakery because you love to bake.
Yeah.
Not
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 because you care about optimizing your
and,
insurance.
and no, 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 number one, like you probably don't open it because you love running a bakery. You don't like the business aspect. You're gonna have to learn. You probably opened it because you love to bake. And then insurance is the very last thing you think of. Somebody requires it, right? Your bank or your leaseholder or whoever, somebody required it, or it might have even if you've been doing it at home, it might have even been you're doing a large wedding and they ask for your proof of insurance, right? I run three small businesses. So there is the podcast, book publisher, blog, Insurance Nerds, with Nick Lamparelli. Getting insurance for that was a nightmare. I was very lucky. My girlfriend was working for a top 5 broker, and she was able to hook us up, but it was a nightmare because they couldn't get their heads around our crazy business. Then my recruiting firm, that process was fairly easy. And funnily enough, my magician business, which I only had to get insurance for a few weeks ago, was super easy. But I have little by little, I haven't had a claim, and I probably never will because as a magician, it's very rare, right? Uh, but
Wait,
like
what if you like don't pull out their card, right? Is that
so so the funnily enough, that is an actual trick, where like you fake getting it wrong and then you pull out an actual insurance policy,
okay.
and then the card appears in one way or another. That's an actual trick. But yeah, mostly what we're covering for is liability, right? If I light somebody's curtains on fire,
Yeah, I guess that could happen.
right, or if somebody trips on my stuff while I'm doing a show at their place. But more than anything, the venue probably asks you to have insurance, right? So it was very easy to get, but even though I'm an insurance professional, I'm very unclear in what coverages I actually have because they made it easy to buy. They did not make it easy to figure out to look at my policy, right? So anyway, so yes, small commercial deserves attention. And you didn't say this, but it is the side of insurance that other than personal lines that can more easily be done fast, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, I think to your point on small commercial, it's kind of a big data problem, right? And one of the
yeah.
reasons that we love being the carriers, we own a lot of that data, and that's really important to us. And so, I would say on the spectrum, we're relatively intellectual as an organization, and we really enjoy the challenge of trying to find insights with our data to provide better policies, to provide better coverage, better pricing, better segmentation. And so that's one piece of it too, which I think is one of the reasons for small commercial.
My ears, my insurance nerds ears perked up. You said something really interesting at the beginning of describing what you guys do, and you talked about complex policies. Are you guys not ISO based, or is it not built on a standard available policy from one of the advisory?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we actually operate both an admitted and an E&S carrier.
Okay.
And so, which I didn't even mention. And so we think about that as having flexibility to find the right policy for the risk. And so it depends on which product. We do a BOP product which is ISO based plus modifications,
Perfect.
customizations, additional coverages. And then on the E&S side, I would call it it's a commercial package product, but it's still very very much small commercial for risks that don't really fit into the BOP
Perfect.
box that we think are better suited for the E&S market. But yeah, I think that as we scale, one of the things that we're excited about is actually being able to solve for, and I think we're doing this, is that small commercial business, making it profitable from an underwriting perspective and from an expense ratio perspective, because we think that the technology not only can help us do it more efficiently, but actually we think it's really really helpful for our agent partners. And I'd love to, you mentioned something that I was thinking about, which is just comparing policy language, right? I want to parse apart the role of the agent here, and like how I envision interacting with agents in the future. And one of the reasons we're doing this is because of that experience I had at an agency where I was like, wow, the partner, it's a handshake, right? Between any insurance deal is a handshake technologically between an agency or an agent and a carrier. And the problem we were having at Newfront, this was a long time ago, so they've built tons and tons of great tech, and they're really an amazing company. But we were often having this experience where we were reaching out for the handshake, and the carrier wasn't reaching back, right? And so what we said is, why don't we build, as part of our core philosophy, why don't we build a carrier that can do that can reach back and shake hands with anybody? So that I'd love to talk a little bit about that if that's where you're game, but
Absolutely. I mean, we go wherever you want to go. Yes, the role of the agent. Okay, so I've never been an agent. I have to say the disclaimer whenever we're talking about agents. I've never worked in an agency. I've worked with agencies in many different ways. As an underwriter, sales manager. My girlfriend worked at a very large brokerage for almost a decade. So very familiar with them, but I'm not a licensed agent. Okay. I believe that most agents, not agencies, most agents are a little more than order takers. And those, what really is their value? Now, having said that, a lot of noise was made, I don't know, 10 years ago. And apparently it's happened several times before my time. Like when the internet first came, when 800 numbers first appeared, then when the internet first appeared, at different points, there's been a lot of talk of the agent disappearing. No, the agent's not going anywhere, especially in commercial lines. But how do we empower the agent to be more than an order taker and more than a price comparer? Because otherwise, like,
Yeah.
a customer can just compare the price on the website, right? So yeah, how do we empower the agent for the right relationship?
Well, this is one of the things that we hold most dear. One of the reasons I directed us here, because I think it's an interesting conversation, which is we don't think the agent's going anywhere. The
Mm-hmm.
independent retail agent is our customer, right? The insureds are too, but the independent retail agent is our customer. Look, we run a carrier, two of them actually, technically, and I would never buy insurance for our business, even our like our general, like whether it's BOP or GL, whatever. I wouldn't buy that without an agent involved. I don't buy it without an agent involved. Um, and I'm gonna use the term for a second, AI, right? Uh, I think that this is one of those places where we see it as a big unlock for brokers if we can build it the right way, and we are building it, to be native in the platform. But when you think about, a lot, I hear from a lot of agents, is AI going to be a threat to my job? And I always think, no, it's gonna take you from being I'm not gonna use the word order taker, but well, I'll use your word. I'll say it was your word, order taker. But it takes them from being an order taker to something much, much more. The thing they actually signed up to do, right? We think that it
Mm-hmm.
empowers them to help agents. Of course, there's like quicker quoting, better cross selling, spending less time chasing underwriters. But like, think about a really manual, silly task that a lot of agents spend time on, which is this an appetite? That simple question gets asked so many times per day, and it's a phone call and you're on hold, or it's an email and you're waiting, and this person has a $5,000 bot policy that you just need quoted, right? Well, we actually looked at our volume of of tickets for customer service and said, well, actually, this question gets asked like a lot, a lot. And so we spent a couple of weeks and we built an appetite agent. Her name is Amy. She's a goat. I think you'd have a lot of fun with her, Tony, like interacting. But there's this whole lore in our company about Amy the goat.
Love
Um,
it.
she's on our website, and you can ask her what we cover. She's actually really accurate, probably more accurate than I would be if you asked me. And she's instant and she's interactive. And so now what we're trying to do is empower agents to spend that time instead of chasing underwriters or navigating old school clunky portals, to automate service requests, things that are like low level, low value for their customer, so that they can spend more time doing, servicing their clients, getting out in the community, selling, or to your point, Tony, like, what's in this policy? Can you, instead of comparing price, can you actually help me understand what this covers
Mm-hmm.
as a customer? All of a sudden, if you're not spending 40% of your time chasing underwriters for silly things, you can spend the time that to do the job that you signed up for, which is to help people get coverage.
Fantastic. So AI, okay, for the last 18 months, being an insurance nerd who runs a insure tech podcast has been frustrating. You're about to be my therapist for a little bit, because all we talk about is AI. The
Yeah.
hard part about that, I've made a joke that if I take a shot every time somebody says AI, I need a liver transplant by now. Now I love AI. I absolutely do. I am addicted to Samantha, my chat GPT. She is amazing. Has made me so much more productive. Um, the hard part for me is that as a non-technical guy, it is hard to suss out who is, out of the, I don't know, 150 interviews I've done with AI companies, who are the real ones, who are not, who really get it, who don't, who is little more than a ChatGPT call, API call. I have my theories, and I have some that I'm pretty sure are for real, but it's so hard to know. So
I was going to ask you, I was going to say, you have more N than any of us. What's the most interesting use case for AI you've heard over the last 18
most
months?
interesting use case. I have bad memory, so it's hard to say. So some of my favorites are Tazi, Tazi. I've had her on the podcast a couple times, and she's been fantastic every time. Fantastic every time I see her in person. I like Lazaros a lot. I recently had Further AI, and I thought that they were for real. Uh, I can't think of like interesting cases right now. Those are the ones that just come to mind that have stood up in my mind as like they really either really know what they're doing or they're really good at convincing me that they do.
And
Right?
those they may have high overlap or not, but I think about like I think more about like jobs to be done. And we get a lot of inbounds from companies about, submission triage, submission parsing, workflow, like agentic workflow, things of that nature. But a lot of those are like what I would call like plugins, right?
Oh,
They're trying to sell us on like a plugin to our platform, which is very different than how we think about it. But I'm curious, like, what's the most interesting use case you've seen?
yeah, I right now I'm not sure, but I will. My ADHD got the best of me. That was fantastic. Anyway, okay, so yeah, so I don't like off the top of my mind, especially because I can see that we only have like 15 minutes left. I can't think of a super interesting case. I'm sure that I'll wake up tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. and like be like, oh, that's
You can
right.
email me.
What I've seen a lot of is a lot of AI. It makes sense, right? It makes sense. It's improving something that we do, taking away the painful parts of something that we do, and empowering the people to do it, right? And I always ask, right, either in the conversation or more often after we're done recording, are you going to put us out of a job, right? And the answer over and over and over is no. We're going to empower you. Now, some jobs will go away from traditional carriers that have people, that type things or that do data entry, that kind of stuff will go away. So now, what the way that you described the AI piece, you called it real AI, native AI. What do you mean by native AI, and how is that different from the rest of the many players that claim to be AI companies?
Yeah. So I would say that we're an insurance company, right? We use AI to solve problems, just like we would use software or humans or magicians or whatever it is. Actually, we like to say magical, not mystical about some of the things we do. So there is a place for you. Maybe we'll take
Perfect.
your
Perfect.
little emoji version of yourself. But I think there's a difference between you talked about some of these AI tools kind of just being like GPT wrappers, right, or Gemini wrappers, and having a specific use case. This doesn't mean they're not useful, but that's kind of like a point solution, right? What we're doing is we're actually, whether we're building it in-house or integrating them, we're integrating them into the fabric of our platform, right? So
Hmm.
um, whether it's LLMs for class code matching, right? But that would be part of our audit process for underwriting. It's core to what we do. It's not something that we introduce into an experience that already existed because we are building it from scratch. We don't have this legacy infrastructure that we're trying to figure out, okay, we do this thing, can we then slot it in? We're reimagining how these processes work with a like agentic or AI forward reasoning. Now, AI is not always the right tool, by the way. Like it's not. It's just not always the right tool. But there are many, many quality use cases that have high ROI. And so when I say real AI, we're not saying, oh, I want to replace this one process that an underwriting assistant does every single time. We're saying, okay, what if we reimagine that and that never existed? What would that look like? What would have to be true for the underwriter to have the right information to make a decision if we didn't like do the data entry piece of an underwriting assistant? So that's when I say like it's not that the other AI isn't real. Certainly anything that's built on ChatGPT is, it is whatever. But
Hmm.
like it's more about how we're thinking about getting to the end state of what we're trying to solve and less about replacing individual point solution processes with an AI tool.
Got it. Got it. The ENS side. So if I go for the quote, once you realize that my dynamo that my little bookstore also sells dynamite, uh, and it should be covered in the ENS market. Is it still a fast quote and bind, or does it have to go to an underwriter and take a week?
So we're really proud of this. And it's still very much in like its earliest testing days, but
Mm-hmm.
we built an ENS platform that operates the same way that our bot product operates. Digital, instant quote, that bindable quotes. Do we have referrals and underwriters review? Absolutely, right? Underwriters are also auditing these processes. We are first and foremost, a carrier.
Mm-hmm.
However, um, I don't, this is one where you could tell me if we're the first or not. But from the carrier perspective, I think we're at least one of the earliest fully digital experiences for an ENS policy where you can enter information and get back a bindable quote online, choose from different packages of coverages, deductibles, et cetera, customize and still bind instantly. So to your question, I think I was testing our ENS platform. I was looking for errors a couple of days ago. Um, and I'm not an agent, so I don't do this on a daily basis, but I think I was able to get from start to finish and bind a quote, a test quote, in under 6 minutes for an ENS policy.
I do believe you're the only ones right now that can bind DNS in right away. I think as far as they've come on the podcast, I don't remember anybody else saying that. And that, yeah, that is for the NS space. That is very impressive. Uh, as a former sales manager, I spent a lot of time with two different carriers, appointing new agents, trying to appoint new agents is a better way to put it. And in fact, at one of those carriers, I remember blown away. This was a good 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. Basically, they said that it costs the company, it's a very large national carrier. It cost the company at that time, 10 years ago, 100 grand to appoint the new agency.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and those costs are basically internal friction,
Yeah, no, this is
right?
true.
So because of that, they're very picky on who they appoint, and you have to commit, and you have to have a storefront. I don't know if anymore today, but you have to have a storefront. That storefront couldn't be like I remember one of the agents that I had been pursuing getting rejected because their little agency is inside of a supermarket, right? So
Hmm.
what it was, it might have been like a Walmart or something, but basically one of those like you do your shopping, you can get a quote. No, they have to have an independent storefront. It can be a what's it called, a like strip mall, but it has to be its own little store. It can't be a part of another store, stuff like that. And they and then like lots and lots and lots just don't hit minimums, and then they lose their appointment, right? Which is a mess. So the appointment process for agents. How easy is it? Can any agent that has the correct paperwork sign up? Are there commitments?
Yeah, and for any agent listening to this in the future, please come check this out and verify that it's true. But what we've done is we've tried to create an onboarding experience that is seamless. We like to think about other products that we love in the consumer world, or in other parts of financial services. So we love to think that we're as easy to sign up with as what it is these days, not 10 years ago, to like open up a new iPhone. That's a really great experience. Or back in the day, Charles Schwab, an amazing company, because they let you do so many things online. When you actually called and had a question, you could get a human because those people were
Mm-hmm.
available, not
Mm-hmm.
triaging low level. So to answer your question is, we make it really, really simple. We've heard that from so many people that the big carriers, it's too expensive. So you have to have, if you're the biggest carriers, you might have to have $1 million commit with them to be able to get an appointment because it has to be worth it for them. That's not the case for us. For us, I think the process takes maybe 2 minutes to get appointed. It's all online, it's all digital. The only fee that we pay, when you want to talk about cost advantage, is the monthly broker, like NIPER fee, right? Which we also have automated so that there's no friction on our end to this, which means that we actually can take brokers with no commitments, which we do. And we're excited about those agent partners. We have really good tools for monitoring how good these agents are and how well they treat our platform. I won't tell you all the tricks because if I told you all the tricks, agents are smart. If they're looking to take advantage, they'll find a way. But what we do is we allow agents to sign up and just start quoting, and we monitor behavior, and we have tons and tons of automated monitors and some AI monitors as well that tell us when we think that an agent is acting out of turn. So I think it's really important. I think it's really important that as you think about building a better experience, you're not just thinking about quoting, you're not just thinking about servicing, you're not just thinking about claims, which we haven't even gotten into, but also like end to end. What does the onboarding look like? And I think our biggest challenge right now is we're the new kids on the block. People don't know who we are. So when an agent listens to this, they say, wait, I could get signed up in 2 or 3 minutes, be quoting and have a bound policy. Like we actually had someone this week, where this is not unique, this happens all the time, from them because we can track all this from the moment they went to our website, went all the way through onboarding, quoted, bound a policy. I think it was something like 15 minutes. The whole thing. The whole thing. So we can do that, and we would welcome folks who are interested in that.
That is fantastic. Fantastic. So you mentioned claims. Are you doing your own stunts, or are you going through a TPA for now?
A mix. A mix.
Okay.
We don't have enough like grounds on the boots to do independent adjusting, so we obviously we use those folks where we need. But I think that's an area where I think the use cases for better data science, tighter management and some agentic workflows is actually super interesting.
Perfect. Are you already all 50 states? Are you aiming for all 50 states?
So we're 48 states and DC.
Fantastic.
We don't do Florida, and we don't do Hawaii.
Okay. Fantastic. So you do Alaska.
We do Alaska. Yeah, we have policies in Alaska.
All right. All right. All right. So future forward, what you can share. Are you staying in small commercial, or are you heading towards middle market? Are you heading towards other sides of the business, or is the goal simply to be the best carrier we can be in small commercial?
Yeah, probably that last one, right? We want to serve the agents and insureds in this space as best we can uh, before we think about anything else. And like as far as I can see, there's plenty of
Oh,
there's plenty of runway. I don't have the number right in front of me, but I kind of
it's
it's like
gigantic.
$200 billion a year or something in small, or
Yeah.
150.
Yeah.
It's
Small
massive.
commercial is massive.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive. 100%. 100%. Uh,
We like to
I
stay
re-
focused, Tony. There's so much to do in insurance, and it's a phenomenal market. So a little bit of focus sometimes is not the end of the world.
that is fantastic. That's all I've got for now, and we're almost out of time. But if you have any closing comments, this is the time. I'm very impressed. It looks fantastic.
Well, we appreciate your time, and we're excited to have this opportunity, and we look forward to seeing you at the next conference, which I don't know what our next overlap is, but yeah, we're excited what we're building. We love the ecosystem. We think there's so many smart people doing interesting things, and we really appreciate your podcast because it brings. I listen to it. It gives me ideas. There are people I reach out to afterwards and say, "Hey, that
Fantastic.
sounded really interesting. I'd love to figure out if we can partner." So thank you for doing what you do
My
and
pleasure.
keep doing it.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate that we appreciate it, Tony, and really appreciate the time. And as Graham said, we try to make the process better for the agents, for the insureds, and hopefully we can make a meaningful difference in the small commercial space across the U.S.
Thank you.